Welcome to your custom deep dive learner. So glad you're here.
Yeah, welcome.
Today, we are taking a really close look at an exploration of international justice, political expediency, and, well, how the very definition of a war crime it can completely shift depending on who happens to be in power.
Exactly. It's a pretty heavy topic, but so important.
Right. And our source material for this mission is this fascinating historical study by Richard Pankhurst. It's called Italian Fascist War Crimes in Ethiopia, a history of their discussion, from the League of Nations to the United Nations, 1936 to 1949.
Right, which sounds academic, I know, but the actual story here is wild.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
Because the core conflict we're looking at today is how a globally recognized, undeniable series of horrific atrocities in Ethiopia was deliberately swept under the rug by the Allies during World War II.
Yeah.
And they did it just to protect a newly useful political ally.
Which is why this isn't just, dry history. It's really a masterclass in how international law isn't always about universal justice. It's actively shaped and manipulated by power politics.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the facts on the ground, because they're pretty harrowing.
They are. Irrefutable, though.
Right. Totally irrefutable. So between 1935 and 1936, the Italian fascist government under Mussolini invades Ethiopia. And the atrocity...
It broadcast everywhere. It wasn't a secret.
No, not at all. They used mustard gas on combatants and civilians. They literally bombed Red Cross hospitals. And ambulances, too.
Yeah, and the executions without trial.
Yes. And the source mentions the Graziani massacre, the killings at the Debre Libanos monastery. Oh, and the shooting of traditional healers, right?
So-called witch doctors, yeah.
Huh.
The Italians targeted them just because they supposedly prophesied the end of fascist rule.
Wow.
It was a systematic attempt to just break Ethiopian society.
So, with all this evidence, Emperor Haile Selassie and his Minister of Foreign Affairs, they take this directly to the League of Nations, right? They're supplying the proof, asking for an inquiry commission.
And the League's response, absolutely nothing.
Wait, really nothing at all?
Nothing. They took zero official action. Because, the European powers didn't want to alienate Mussolini over an African nation at that time.
Wow. Okay, but then the timeline shifts. World War II breaks out.
Right. Fast forward to 1942, Nazi Germany is inflicting this regime of terror across occupied Europe, and suddenly the Allies, the US, Britain, the exiled European governments, they suddenly care very deeply about punishing war crimes.
It's like a bouncer at an exclusive VIP club, right? They only suddenly care about the rules when the VIPs are the ones getting attacked.
That is exactly what it was like.
But so why was Ethiopia excluded from this newfound moral outrage? They have the evidence.
Well, what's fascinating here is the chilling internal logic of the British Foreign Office.
Well, the memos.
Yes. There's this quote from 1942 by the Foreign Undersecretary, Sir Orme Sargent. He actually wrote that he had, quote, doubts about admitting Abyssinia into the sacred circle of the Allied nations.
The sacred circle? Wow.
Right. It just reeks of colonial and racial prejudice.
Yeah, it effectively just placed Ethiopia entirely outside the confines of European statesmanship.
Exactly. They weren't considered part of the club, so their suffering didn't legally count.
Okay, so moving into the summer of 1943, Italy starts losing the war. How did the Allies handle the Italian leadership then?
So Mussolini falls from power. And initially, U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt is furious. He demands Mussolini's immediate arrest, calls him the head devil, and says he and his partners in crime need to be surrendered.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right, but within literally days, Roosevelt pivots.
Just totally changes his mind.
Pretty much. He suggests they just, postpone the whole war criminal problem so they can get Italy out of the war faster.
That is incredible. And the irony in the source material here is just glaring. Because the guy who replaces Mussolini as prime minister...
Marshal Pietro Badoglio.
Right, Marshal Badoglio. Wait, didn't Badoglio literally order the use of poison gas in Ethiopia? Like, he was the commander.
He absolutely was.
How can the Allies just ignore that? He's a textbook war criminal.
Because of political expediency. You see, the U.S. and British leaders, they didn't look at Badoglio and see a war criminal. They saw a strong man. They needed someone to maintain European stability. They were terrified of communist revolts or anarchy in Italy.
Right. They just needed someone to run the trains, essentially.
They needed an Italian government to manage things, and Badoglio was perfectly willing to play ball with the Allies.
Unbelievable. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The public finds out, right? Like back in the British Parliament.
Oh, yeah. The British public and certain MPs were not letting this go.
There was Major Vivian Adams, right?
Yes, Major Adams. He stands up in the House of Commons and basically starts asking these highly inconvenient questions like, hey, are we going to bring Badoglio to justice for his crimes in Ethiopia?
Which had to cause absolute panic in the Foreign Office.
Total panic. Because behind closed doors, they are secretly negotiating an armistice with Badoglio.
Right.
The last thing they want is to spook him with a public war crimes indictment. Plus, remember, Britain had actually officially recognized Italy's conquest of Ethiopia back in 1938.
Oh, wow, I forgot about that. So they were complicit, too.
Completely.
So then we get to this moment, and this is just wild, where a government spokesman, Richard Law, outright lies to Parliament.
The classic parliamentary inexactitude.
Right, a polite way of saying perjury. He gets grilled about why Ethiopia was excluded from this new 17-nation UN War Crimes Commission. And Law just falsely claims that the Ethiopian government had been informed of the negotiations and, quote, offered no comment.
Like they just didn't care.
Yeah, which is total fabrication.
It was. And the internal Foreign Office memos from that week are basically just middle managers freaking out.
Yeah.
They realized Ethiopia had never been told about the commission at all.
It's exactly like a modern corporate cover-up. Like when a PR department realizes a massive, very public mistake was made, but instead of just issuing a correction and looking bad,
They just double down.
they double down. They chose to maintain the lie rather than invite Ethiopia to the table.
Yeah, they decided saving face and protecting their secret alliance with Badoglio was more important.
So how do they legally justify keeping Ethiopia out after that? Like, what was the bureaucratic gymnastics there?
Oh, they came up with a very convenient loophole. They suddenly declared that the War Crimes Commission was only authorized to look at crimes committed, quote, during the present war.
Meaning World War II. So anything after September 1939.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to push back on that because the source mentions China. China was allowed to press for trials of Japanese war crimes that dated back way before 1939. So why the double standard?
Well, China was a major ally they needed to keep happy. Ethiopia wasn't. But the real, cynical reason is revealed in this internal memo by a legal official named Sir Herbert Malkin. This is the real aha moment.
What did he say?
Malkin warned his colleagues that if Ethiopia were allowed onto the commission, quote, probably the first name on the Ethiopian list would be Marshal Badoglio.
Oh, wow. So they knew. They knew exactly what they were doing.
100%. They were intentionally protecting him. Even later, in December 1944, Winston Churchill personally ordered that Badoglio be protected and kept in safeguarding hands.
So the very people setting up the global justice system are hiding its biggest targets.
Exactly.
But this couldn't stay quiet forever, like the anger in Ethiopia had to spill over.
Oh, it did. By January 1945, the New York Times published an article that finally leaked Ethiopia's absolute fury over this.
Over the British refusing to hand over Italian war criminals.
Right. And what does the Foreign Office do? They just hide behind their present war loophole again. They told their ambassadors to just keep repeating that timeline restriction to the press.
Just incredible. So what does this all mean for you, learner? Why does this historical deep dive actually matter today?
Well, it's about precedent, right?
Yeah. It reveals that the architecture of international justice isn't always built on pure morality. It is so frequently shaped, bent, and manipulated by power dynamics, timing, political convenience.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, developing critical thinking about modern geopolitics really requires understanding these exact historical precedents.
Absolutely.
Knowing how the rules were literally bent in the 1940s helps you critically evaluate the alliances and legal justifications you see in the news today. You know, who is included in the sacred circle now?
Right. Which leaves you with a final thought to ponder on your own. If the definition of a war crime can be so easily bound by convenient timelines and political usefulness, how many other historical atrocities have been quietly erased from the legal record simply because the perpetrator suddenly became too valuable to the victors?
It's a heavy question.
It is. Thanks for diving in with us, learner.